Kai turned red as a tomato with a splash of fire-truck red and the tiniest hint of red paprika, and blew up at Louisa. "What are you talking about? And even if I'd ask a pastor for the role, that doesn't mean I'll actually get to play the angel, much less an angel wearing wings." "And a pretty white dress," whispered Louisa mischievously, and received an elbow to the gut, leaving her, and a cute golden halo, near inaudible. "Leave it alone, Louisa Kai. Stop fighting. Wings aren't the most important part of being an angel anyway. My dad once told me, 'Watch out, if you only look for wings searching for angels, you might just bring home a goose at the end of the day.'" I tried to appease my two friends. And indeed, they both started giggling at the image of carrying a screeching goose and insisting on calling it an angel. "Before we ask anyone else," I said, "we should really shoot a text to my dad. Thing is, I don't know his number." "Well, you might not, but I got it saved in my phone," Kai exclaimed triumphantly and immediately started typing. We suddenly heard a voice of Headmaster Lunches. "Hey, the three of you. It's truly laudable that you aren't leaving the school with cheer and jubilation like everyone else. In fact, you're not leaving at all. You should, though. The renovations are set to begin about right now, and you really shouldn't stay here without respiratory protection. I'm terribly sorry. I truly never thought I would say this to a student, but you need to leave the school." We followed his directions just all too willingly. Louisa quietly asked if he thought that Headmaster Lunches was a student himself once, and all I could do was grimly shake my head. "It's impossible to prove. He looks old and ossified enough that I'm half sure schools hadn't even invented yet when he was our age. And if he ever was a student, then I'm sure everyone would have hated them, though." Once on the streets, Kai quickly finished typing his message to my dad. A small beep notified us that the SMS had been sent. "So, are we going to wait here until we get an answer?" asked Louise. "That could take hours," I said, very doubtful of a quick reply. "You know, my dad's always out and about. He's either visiting ancient people or has weird conversations with his even weirder colleagues, and doesn't take a look at his phone for 12 hours straight." I'd barely spoken the last word when my dad's answer text arrived on Kai's phone. I should find out later that my dad indeed hadn't been visiting or having strange conversations with anyone. He had been standing on a ladder in the downstairs hallway and tried to exchange a light bulb. That was something he'd planned to do for weeks, but had always been hindered by either a lack of ladder or a lack of replacement light bulb. He found both things on the Thursday our unplanned holidays had been announced. The notification of our arriving text caught him in the exact second he was about to exchange the bulbs. In his surprise, he let go of the new light bulb. He tried to catch it, but only slid down the ladder and gave himself several scrapes on elbows and knees in the process. The light bulb fell onto the floor and shattered into 1,000 pieces. In the end, the ladder toppled over and hit a stand of brochures that was ripped down as well. It dispersed about 1,001 little booklets and flyers over the hallway floor, nicely covering up the light bulb's 1,000 shards. Instead of dealing with the chaos, my dad opted to answer our SMS first. "Note, you've seen me, the daughter, create unimaginable chaos upon the arrival of an SMS as seen in the last adventure. Obviously, the father, my dad, could do the same." Standing on a sidewalk in front of our school, the three of us focused on the little screen and read, "I can pick up and bring back. Pick up only possible on Monday 4 p.m. I've got a couple appointments in the morning and have to work almost the entire weekend. Dad." That settled the question when and if we could visit Michtel in the first place, and all we had to do now was ask our parents, or just my mom in my case, for permission. Chapter 3, in which we spent the days and hours before the departure. Still in a good mood, I waved Kai and Louisa goodbye and went home as if nothing had happened. My mom stood at a counter and sorted a variety of bills, receipts, tax papers, and bank records, and so on when I told her, well, I simply told her the same thing I'd already said before I left the school, maybe an hour before. "Good morning, Mom." She stared at me, completely dumbfounded. "What are you doing here already?" I updated her on the events that had forced our school to close for the week, and she sat down and said, "Crap, I just accepted 2 weeks straight of morning shift because that's when you're supposed to be in school and bubblegum in kindergarten. What am I supposed to do now?" "How about me and Bubblegum visit our dad? Maybe he could pick us up on Sunday or Monday or something," I very cautiously dared to suggest, but Mom cut me off. "I doubt he's going to find time for that." "Actually, he does. We already asked him." I could see in her eyes that she wanted to say no on principle, simply because my dad had already agreed, without asking her first, especially since it automatically assumed that he wouldn't. Though, in the end, reason prevailed, and she said, "For all I care, sure. He'll have to pick you up either on Sunday or Monday morning, though, so we don't have to bother with anything but work next week. You can send your dad to SMS yourself. After all, he pays for your phone, doesn't he?" My mom returned her attention to her strange papers with a million numbers on them, and I withdrew into my room. I just wondered if this, sorting strange papers with even stranger numbers on them, was the only reason we had to learn math in school. Was it really worth it? Regarding the problems at hand, I'd already texted my dad that he could pick us up on Monday 4 p.m., as opposed to the Monday morning my mom had demanded. But I knew my dad well enough to know that he'd likely still find a loophole that allowed him to pick us up anyway. I went to get my old phone from a drawer in the hallway and snuck back into my room. Not wanting to be interrupted while I tried to write an SMS, I considered a few possibilities before opting to hide in my wardrobe. I sat down on the pile of tied-together jeans from last Christmas and contacted my dad. "Can you pick us up on Sunday evening? Mom has to work."